I'd like to welcome Professor Sir Christopher Snowden and members of the Researching Assessment Practices community to come together to discuss where we are moving forward with assessment at Southampton and what we've achieved. Following the success of the Simply Better Improving Student Learning Outcomes conference, it's a very good time to reflect with the changing faculty structure and also to look at what we have achieved and what we need to do in moving forward. Firstly, our main priorities moving forward would be about looking at student equity. Do all students have an equal chance of doing well? Student agency, but also staff agency in assessment. Are there things that we can do to make everybody's lives better? And also transparency. This meeting is also poignant because for the very first time with REF 2021, our own work in using research to inform teaching now counts in terms of impact case studies, and it hasn't done before. So this is very poignant for all colleagues across the university, whatever discipline they may be in. In terms of what we've achieved in a short space of time, Researching Assessment Practices, or RAP as it's become known, was set up in 2015. In fact, it was 10 people and it came out of an Iliad conference in September. Our first meeting was October 2015. Since then, we have a community mailing list of over 2,500. We have 250 people in the community, and we have think tank leads of staff and students across faculties and disciplines. Due to the work and the collegiate nature of the work of colleagues, we've achieved quite a lot. We have Veronica Spencer has become an advisor on the Advanced HE Quality Advisory Board. We've achieved over £500,000 of external funding from Office for Students to look at differential learning outcomes for students, working with universities of Kingston and Surrey. We've also were shortlisted for a Learning and Teaching Strategy of the Year by the Times Higher, the Thelmas. We've recently won a collaborative award for teaching excellence across the university, and the award ceremony is in November. We've also established a national community called INRAP, which actually features a lot of our colleagues who have also moved to other universities because we didn't want to lose their expertise, and it was a great opportunity to develop ideas nationally. And we've also been the first university in the country to develop a specific assessment pathway through fellowships with Advanced HE called Engage. We actually have taken the research to inform a theoretical conceptual framework called EAT, which we have been applying across the university. And today, it was very welcoming to see a group of students who are embarking on a new elective with Andrew Pinnock, where they're designing the assessment for themselves, which was the ultimate aim in terms of building student-staff partnership, where we've worked very closely with SUSU. I'm now going to hand over to Xiaotong to talk about her work with Researching Assessment Practices. Okay.
My name is Xiaotong. I'm the manager of the research project funded by Office for Students. We have been doing the research with students at different levels of study across the university. We have been also collaborating with the other two universities in the UK. Personally, I see myself fitting very well in the student and staff partnership model because I used to be a PhD student here, but my involvement with the REP community brought me this job, which was unexpected. Actually, the transition process from being a full-time student to a full-time member of the staff at the university was not easy, but was quite rewarding to me. I feel like I have improved a lot after being part of the REP community and after undertaking this job in terms of, for example, my management skills, my research skills, my understanding of pedagogy, and I feel I know better about how to work in the university and with staff and with students. So, Sir Christopher, my question today is, what do you see as a key strength of the REP initiatives to date in supporting the university's Simply Better strategy?
Well, thank you. Well, I think there are a number of things come out of this, quite obviously, and in fact you're living proof, if you like, of one of them. But if we look at assessment today, there's clearly a need to go forward and look at different ways and doing better assessment. And I think a key element to this, to me, has been the partnership model of working between staff and students and developing. And I love to hear the idea that students can help develop and design their own assessment. I think this really matters because I think we need to recognise there's a greater diversity of students coming to university today, and frankly there are better ways of doing assessment going forward. So I think it contributes fundamentally to the education strategy of the university. More broadly, I think it's a really good example of both, if you like, the collegiality and quality elements of the university strategy in action, where we've got clear demonstration of how we can move forward with innovative thinking, better ways of doing the assessment, but also especially engaging students, because I think historically universities didn't do enough to engage students in the education phase, but especially in the assessment phase. And I think that's something that's become very apparent to me looking at the feedback, for example, from national student surveys and from our own Southampton student survey system.
So just to introduce myself, my name's Sam Dedman and I'm Vice President Education at the University of Southampton Students' Union. It's been a real pleasure of mine to work alongside the RAP project for the past couple of years and helping to engage students in improving assessment practices across the university. In my mind, this is particularly key because it helps to demystify the weird and wonderful world of higher education assessment and helping students in their transition to university life. So my question to you is that SUSU and RAP have done a load of work to help make assessment principles clear and easy to understand across the university, but there is ultimately a lot more work to be done. Now, we've been proud to work as partners with RAP, but what do you think that the university can do to support SUSU and RAP in their work?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say is I see this really as a single team. You know, between SUSU, RAP and the university, we're all trying to do actually the same thing. So for me, I'll sort of recast it slightly and say I think it's how do we deliver this and make it even more effective across the university. I think there are several things. We heard earlier that, you know, there are over 250 people in the RAP community, so that's a really good starting point because it means you've got a huge network of people who already see the benefit of this approach. I think the other thing is we need to see it appear more fundamentally in the university's delivery, if I put it, of education. And I think this could be used in a lot of areas which at the moment have a very traditional approach to assessment practice. So it's something I would really like to see develop. I'm particularly grateful for SUSU's engagement in this because I think it's really important to get wide-based engagement going forward. It's the whole essence of, after all, the university is about. It's about the people, it's about engaging with the students, and it's frankly about doing things better, very much in the line of the strategy title. So let's see this work even better for us.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Hello, Sir Christopher. I am Sharifa Al-Adawi. I am a PhD student and I am also the RAB postgraduate lead ambassador. We have been researching BGR's assessment practices because most of the work done right now at the university focus on the undergraduates. So we wanted to give the BGRs the opportunity to express their concerns, their ideas. We have been conducting several workshops. We started few months ago in collaboration with the doctoral college, and we have found several concerns from the BGRs, such as supervision, such as the research community. And from there, I learned a lot about the BGRs, and I found that I shared lots of these concerns with my fellow students. So from here, I would like to know from you, where do communities of practice, such as RAB, fit within the new structure of the university?
Thank you. Well, I think first of all, just let me say, I think the need to have a look at how we do assessment and development for postgraduates is really important. And I think it's a question of, as we were talking about earlier actually, the transition even from undergraduate to postgraduate is quite a challenge. It's a very different approach and different type of assessment. And it's not all about the PhD thesis, I'll put it that way at the end. It's a journey to that point. Actually, by the time you get there, as you know, you're nearly there anyway. So I think the thing we need to do here is, again, it's two things really. Greater integration of new practice approaches into the postgraduate supervision, because I agree with you that this is where we need to change the way people think about this. And the other element, I think, is to strengthen that community as you have been doing. So it's because there's very close feedback, as I'm sure you've appreciated really, between supervisor and PhD student, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the best practice is adopted in any individual case. So we need to help develop staff colleagues to appreciate there are better ways of doing this. So it's going to sit, again, fairly and squarely in the education strategy, but with a strong appreciation of its role, I think, in the research strategy too. So it spans different areas in doing this. And I see a third arm too, and that will be in staff development, where we need to stimulate creative new thinking as to how we can provide that. And I've supervised over 50 PhD students. In that journey for me, I've learned that different people think about things differently. So you need a more flexible and adaptive assessment during that journey to be able to get there, I think.
And I think one thing that has come out of the work that you did through the festival funding, which we are very appreciative of, was the notion of different conceptions of how PhD students are viewed in terms of the holistic model, where they are a member of the team and therefore they are inducted to all the practices of being a researcher and part of the team, or at the reductionist end, where they're seen as they are here purely to do a PhD, disconnected from the workings of the environment. And I think to move to a more holistic framework where we see the value and induct students into the community, they will develop far more skill sets. And that was what's come out of some of the work that we've been looking at.
I mean, I would completely agree with that. I think it would be a shame if the only thing people got out of this, if that was a PhD and the title, because actually the greatest value is created in that broader holistic approach. So I completely agree with that.
And so now we move to Chris, who is an undergraduate, who joined us and has continued to join us and basically has been teaching us all what to do. So over to Chris.
Hello, my name is Chris Chiorean. I am a third-year undergraduate in psychology, and as part of the project, I am a research assistant as part of our data team here at Southampton, and also the undergraduate lead ambassador. Funnily enough, I became an ambassador very late, but I became a volunteer very early, rightfully so, as part of a talk that Professor Evans took in one of my classes. And I really liked what she was saying, and I wanted to get involved. About 6 months later, I got a formal position here, and I've been getting more and more responsibilities, getting more involved. And I'd like to think that it's benefited me a lot, and I'd like to think I've benefited the project as well. I've learned a lot about assessment, about student partnerships with staff, and it's allowed me to better understand my degree, better understand my lecturers, what they're teaching and why they're doing it. And as part of our data team, what we do is we look at institutional data, which we get from the university, and also data which we collect ourselves in order to assess the impact of our interventions. Of course, we have quite a few of them. And we think it is vital to actually look at what we are doing and see whether we're actually helping students, and to find the practices which are the best across the university and the best to be put in practice. And on that note, I'd like to ask you whether these collaborative partnerships between student and staff could be more centrally and more explicitly rewarded. For example, by being a more central part of the VC award scheme.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say it's a pleasure listening to the points you've made, because I think you capture a lot of the real essence of what we're trying to do here. I think in terms of recognition, actually they already are. I mean, in the sense that, let me say that you can there's nothing to stop anyone making nominations for this. There is already categories, for example, such as the support categories or the teaching excellence ones, where this would fit very well, I think, because assessment and feedback is one of the most fundamental things that all universities need to get to grips with. Nationally, I think it's still one of the weakest streams, if I put it that way, of student satisfaction, and I think it's understandable, because you can never do enough good feedback, and you certainly, I think a good assessment practice is fundamental to being able to do that. So I would really welcome seeing nominations for this sort of area. Innovation, I think, in assessment is something that we would very much welcome. So I don't think there's any problem in doing that at all, and I would encourage you to do so. This year we had about 270 nominations for VC Awards, and we were really pleased with that. And I've actually set the challenge that I hope, in a way, that nominators make it even harder for us, because if we have larger numbers of great nominations, and this will be a fantastic area, I think, to get some nominations.
With the Engaged Fellowships with Advanced HE, it was very important to us that those fellowships were also available for students. Yeah. And that's integral into the whole framework, which we worked with and Advanced HE were very supportive, but it was a challenge to build that in, but we have, because if we're really talking about equality, we need to also value that input of students into the process and facilitate them to do that. And the framework is very much about the student role. It's not just about academics giving feedback, it's about students looking at all the resources that the university can provide them and beyond to get the most out of their studies here. I'd like to thank everybody for contributing. A couple of things that I would like to raise would be that SUSU are working with us on a partnership twilight session followed by a dinner and a dance, because assessment doesn't go without dancing in our world. So that's coming up. And also in supporting the REF, we're also running a mini residential workshop for people writing up their case studies. So those things are coming up. So we're also trying to look at lots of different ways of engaging students and staff across the university. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Professor Sir Christopher and Samuel and Chris and Sharifa and our project manager who keeps us all on track, Xiaotong. So thank you everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.